Let's talk to Emma Webb, Deputy Research Director at the Free Speech Union, of course, because there's nothing like free speech, but there's also nothing like dropping yourself right in the brown stuff. Emma, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Now, I don't know whether you've seen, like I have, just the highlights of this so far, or whether you actually bothered to stay up to watch it, but it is quite an extraordinary event, is it not?
It is. I have never been so excited about any TV ever, I think. I unfortunately didn't manage to figure out how to get it in the early hours of this morning, so I'll be watching it tonight.
Right.
But some of the clips that have been released and some of the reporting on things that were discussed, it really is quite extraordinary. And the bit that I thought was sort of most amusing and most astounding, really, was the when Harry said something relating to how his father and his brother are captive or something to that extent.
Right.
Which is ironic because the palace aides have obviously been nicknaming him the hostage for quite some time. So I thought it was quite amusing that that he sees it in that way. It gives us a real insight into the way that they're viewing this.
Yes.
Both of them seem to be quite thin-skinned and desperate to find any way to interpret the facts, to believe that they're a victim, despite being given absolutely everything and every possible privilege.
Yes, exactly.
And you mentioned free speech there. I think it's also amusing that in some of the clips that were released, sort of drip fed to us in the days running up to this, Meghan was talking about, how she, finally is able to speak out, which I thought was quite ironic, really, given that the Archewell Foundation, as we've discussed on your show before, Mike, that they have involved themselves with internet censorship. And people who have claimed that the algorithms on the internet are racist, but obviously she thinks that it's free speech for her, but not for others.
No, exactly right. But there's so many anomalies in the things that they say. I mean, last week when we got a couple of clips from this ridiculous interview, which I can't imagine I could sit through for 2 whole hours, but I mean, I'll do my best. But, I said at one time last week when I was calling for them to be stripped of their citizenship, which seemed to upset quite a lot of people, funnily enough. I wonder whether many of those people will now actually agree with me. But, I said, is this like an episode of 90210? I mean, she's complaining that, Kate made her cry, that she wasn't able to, have a voice, that she couldn't do an interview with Oprah because she was working for the royal family. And, effectively, I couldn't be queen, she might as well have said, for all of that. And for Harry to say that he was cut off and left with nothing but his £30 million trust fund. I mean, that would be nice if I had a £30 million trust fund.
Yeah, they're living in a different reality, aren't they? They really seem to be completely out of touch, and I don't think this is going to play very well with the public at all. And there was a clip where Meghan was saying that Harry had said that he was going to introduce her to his grandmother, as if she hadn't realised until that point that his grandmother is the Queen of England.
Yes.
And of all of these other Commonwealth countries as well. She said that she was shocked when she was told, Harry asked her, did she know how to curtsy? Because she hadn't realised that you would have to curtsy to the Queen behind the scenes, that it wasn't just part of some act for the public. She seems to have thought that she was, taking part in a lifelong drama rather than actually entering into the royal family. And the same goes for her understanding of her relationship, not only with the Queen, but also with the Sussexes as well, with the Cambridges as well, that she seems to have wanted to be on an equal footing and not to want to be a sideshow to them, and to have therefore done absolutely everything within her power to try and make Harry and Meghan the main show.
Yeah.
And she doesn't seem to have any understanding of, respect or duty. And I think that's why this is really probably the TV event of the decade, really, in my opinion, at least. Maybe I'm just nerdy about this kind of thing. But I think the reason why it's so absolutely sort of delectable is because this is really a clash of something very fundamental that is part of a phenomenon in society more broadly. It's a clash between, as the Queen was describing yesterday in her Commonwealth Day speech, selfless commitment to duty versus this kind of narcissistic, self-centered victimhood approach to life. And it's a real clash of worldviews. It's a clash of ethics. It's a clash of so many things that are sort of rummaging around in the zeitgeist.
Yeah. But the thing
of
is, though,
society.
Emma, I mean, we're being told that this is also a sort of an age-related thing where people under 40 tend to side with Meghan and Harry, people over 40 tend to side with the Queen. I don't think it's that at all. I mean, I imagine there'll be plenty of people under 40 who think that she's behaving like an absolute horror and that he is a spoiled, rotten little brat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can. I mean, obviously, they have their supporters. I find it very difficult to imagine that anybody could really think that their behaviour is acceptable, even if they feel like they have had a hard time, because things are relative to the sort of life that you've led, and maybe in the scheme of their own life, things have been difficult for them. But I think, especially during everything that's been going on with the coronavirus pandemic, the amount of suffering
Yeah.
in the country right now, and the insensitivity that they've shown, the fact that Meghan Markle has, she's so self-centered that she truly seemed to, according to a friend who made a comment about this, believe that the palace were using Prince Philip's illness as a distraction from her interview, and that they were just trying to use it to muzzle Meghan and to prevent her from speaking. They've got an enormous platform, and she wouldn't be giving an interview to Oprah if she hadn't have joined the royal family in the first place. So it's a bit peculiar, and I think that people won't take very kindly to it.
Well, nobody had ever heard of Meghan Markle before she met Prince Harry at all. I mean, not even in America, never mind here. Nobody had a clue who she was. And everybody that knows the way the royal family works is, if you are going to date one of the young members of the royal family, you're going to become the focus of attention. And that's what she became. And she clearly, I bet you if you went back to her apartment in Toronto when she was making suits before she decided to come to Britain to find her prince, there's probably a roadmap to, how to become famous by Meghan Markle. Make sure you do this next. Go and see Piers Morgan, ask him who to meet, go and hang around in sort of Tramp for a while, or Annabelle's, Lizzie Cundy was her friend for a while so that she could show her around the highlights of London. I mean, this woman has been remarkably ambitious in her sort of climbing up the greasy pole.
She claimed that she hadn't actually even Googled Prince Harry beforehand, which I think everybody will probably find very hard to believe.
Yeah.
She is obviously a very ambitious person, and my real sort of skepticism around this interview is that she is an actress, and a lot of the things that she says don't seem very sincere, and she was never a particularly good actress. She was I suppose you'd say a D-lister, and now she's become a sort of D-list Lady Macbeth character. She's making all of these claims, and then behind the scenes all of this stuff is coming out about the bullying accusations in the palace, and the fact that now that the palace are looking into these claims from staff that have since moved on, no longer work there. And they're claiming that any narrative that contradicts their own is almost like fake news. It's a false narrative that the palace are peddling through the PR machine, and that the press are sort of in the palm of their hands, which, as we know, it actually contradicts their own claims about the way that they've been treated. The press is certainly not in the palm of the royal family, and don't necessarily always report as they would like them to report. So it seems that they will tar anybody who criticizes them or disagrees with them as spreading a false narrative about them, anything that contradicts their victimhood narrative, when in fact all of the facts suggest otherwise.
Well, exactly right. Emma, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Emma Webb, Deputy Research Director of the Free Speech Union, quite correctly saying this narrative that they've set up that, we must have a voice. They're trying to silence us. And then you go, okay, well, what does it want to say? We must have a voice. You're trying to silence us. Yeah, what is it you want to say exactly? I don't have a voice. Yeah, well, what do you want to say? I don't know. What should we say? Harry, what should we say? They have nothing to say, these people. Nothing. Kate made me cry. Okay. Anything else? They asked about Archie's skin colour. Okay. Anything else? I mean, how do you make 2 hours of television out of that? I'll be intrigued to watch it as they show us around their £16.5 million mansion in Montecito, California, with all the servants, no doubt, cowering in the background. I wonder if they employ more than 10 servants. A couple of nannies, housekeepers, cleaners, drivers, chauffeurs, gardeners. It's a real struggle out there, I'll tell you what. I wish I was struggling like that. I wouldn't be sitting here looking out at the Tower of London. but at least I have a voice. This is Talk Radio.